City Council meeting for Newport. City of Newport is officially called to order at 6:07 p.m. Monday, August 4th. Present we have Council members Carter Finnegan, Andrew Touchette, John Minette, and Council President Kevin Charbonneau, City Clerk and Treasurer Jim Johnson. We've got Frank Cheney, our Zoning Administrator and Grants Administrator in the room, Travis Bingham from the Police Department. Who else am I missing? Kevin Lacoste here, the Chief of the Fire Department. And on the line we have Chip Stearns, who is our consultant from NEMRIC for financial matters. And we are expecting at least one and possibly two attorney visits this evening, and I don't see either one of them yet. So I'm glad to have all of you in the room. Thank you for coming. Second item on the agenda is additions and deletions. Just go down through and ask if anyone has additions or deletions. Carter? John?
No, thanks.
Kevin? Okay. Jim? No additions or deletions. You see somebody who's trying to check?
Yeah, I just joined.
That's all we've got? Okay, then I'm just going to give folks a heads up that if Attorney John Klesch from SPNF has not joined us in the next few moments, I'm going to ask the council's indulgence and just shuffle the agenda a little bit in order to wait until he can join us for that session. Okay. All right, the consent agenda this evening consists of minutes from the meeting on July 21st, 2025, AP warrants dated 7/23/25, 7/24/25, 7/25/25, and 7/31/25. Payroll warrants dated 7/24/25, and a vendor permit request for Friends for Life Dog Rescue. All of those things are things that the council members should have found in their packets. Are there any questions or concerns that you'd like to raise about any item in the consent agenda before we put it to a vote? Any concerns in the community? Karen?
Regarding the consent agenda, I recognize the reasons for it. It's more efficient. However, given our current situation with the budget, I would suggest that where the warrants are, it would be helpful to go through the warrants and show which line items in the budget they're coming out of, where the money is coming from, so that we start to educate all of us on this process. I don't think it's a good idea to just sweep things forward under one agenda item.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment. I will note that we have a long item on the agenda tonight for a review with Chip Stearns that will include our spending to date for the year. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Consent agenda carries with all of its contents. And let's just see if that's John Klesch. John, are you the one who came in on the last two digits, 9-4, on a phone?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to put off item 4 and item 5. And that means I'm getting to item 6 faster than I expected. So I'm going to, let's see how to do this. I'm going to send a text to Attorney Kevin Kite regarding item 6. And council members, I apologize because it really does kind of mess everything else up. If it's okay with you, council members, I'm going to take item 8, the verbal report on the audit from Jim and Chip, because I know I've got everybody in the room for that one. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so Jim and Chip, can you update the council members and folks in the community about our activities last week with the audit?
I'll start and Chip can jump in. I believe they've got everything they need. Bill's comment to me when he left was that it's far better shape than it was last year, and the schedule, the timelines should be able to be kept, and we should have a draft by the middle of September. That's what I know, unless Chip's had conversation with him.
Chip, you were here for 4 days last week. We're grateful for all of your effort and being here in person. Can you give us any detail about the process of the audit for the folks for whom it's mysterious?
So I was present Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. The lead audit left on Thursday, late in the day. The final person left after working with Frank on all the grants. I communicated with the lead audit, Bill Kaiser, this morning. Just that I sent in the questionnaire that he asked. It is my belief that all of the follow-up that they had sought from the city has been provided to them. I haven't heard that they've requested any additional information, and so they are compiling it. One comment made was that for the fiscal year 25 ending, based upon activity of the council, it looks like we may be carrying a surplus instead of a deficit. However, we are still short cash.
Okay, I assume we'll come back to that in our conversation with you in a little bit.
Possibly, yes.
All right, and could one of you just talk briefly about the threshold for a single audit and what's going on with that? That'll be of interest to some folks in the room as well.
The single audit threshold was $750,000 of federal value spent, not meaning that it got reimbursed, but that we spent it. And we did not reach that threshold, so we do not require a single audit in FY25. That is actually helpful both in cost and in the scrutiny that the auditors would take for a single audit and reporting.
Okay, so it sounds like it's all good news for this week, yes? Jim, anything to add?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Okay.
We're taking it that way.
Great. And I just want to say this out loud, Chip and Jim. I have a copy of this form called the Fraud Inquiry Report that says board on it, and I'm assuming that we need each of the council members to fill out one of these forms for us to get it back to KBS. Does that sound right to you, Chip?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to pass these down. If each council member would take one, you can fill it out by hand if your handwriting is legible. If your handwriting isn't legible, please do something to make it possible for KBS to read it.
I think everybody else has handed one in, or should have by now.
Yes, so these are forms similar to those that are being given to department heads and key finance people. I filled one out in my role at the moment as the person acting in the place of the city manager. So I think we've got all the other ones filled out and ready to go back. Okay, so John Klesch has joined us. So we're going to back up now to item number 4. And I'll just catch the council and the community up on where we are. We agreed a couple of months ago that it was worthwhile for the council to go through a process of re-examining the personnel policy and then considering possible revisions to the personnel policy. So far in that process, we've had some general questions that were raised by council, and we've invited members of the community to speak. And then this week, we've reached out to any staff who would like to speak. And I need to apologize because I mistakenly was under the assumption that staff could testify or share their thoughts in an executive session. But in a meeting with council on Thursday afternoon, I was informed that because this is a policy conversation and not about individual evaluation of a staff person, it was not appropriate to do in an executive session. So we reached out again to the staff. Andrew did that both early last week initially and then again late in the week to let them know that I had been mistaken and that they were welcome to share anything written that they'd like to. I don't believe we got any written comment unless you got something.
Nothing written, just verbal.
and that they were welcome to come tonight and testify as well. I will say that I've had conversation with a number of staff people, and I know other council members have as well, one-on-one. But I want to give us a chance this evening for any members of the staff who are here who would like to speak to the changes that were made a year ago, or now almost a year and a half ago, to the personnel policy. And then we'll invite any questions that the council would like to offer one another, questions that are still on their mind. Then we will go into executive session to hear from our attorney who's with us, John Klesch from SBNF. And then we'll determine whether or not there's action to be taken coming out of that session. Does that make sense? So, are there any folks from the staff who would like to speak, from city, any employee of the city who's in the room tonight who would like to speak to council regarding the personnel policy as it currently stands, any changes that were made a year and a half ago, anything else you'd like to say about the personnel policy? Now's your opportunity to do so.
I'll say one thing, right?
Go ahead, just introduce yourself, Frank, please.
Frank Cheney.
And actually, Frank, just come forward a little bit, just into the middle at least, please. Okay, that's good.
Very quickly, I've already spoken to my immediate supervisor about my general concerns about what happened prior to this. If at all possible, look at your benefit package. Your vacation policy is not very giving. I get 30 sick days a year, which I probably will take 10 years to ever use. I don't need 30. Give me 12 or maybe 5 personal days. So when you have a car or bring a kid to the college, you don't have to say you're sick. It would be very helpful. I think 30 days is never going to be used. And if you start talking about people with young kids for the first 5 years getting 2 weeks of vacation, they'll use half of those with sick kids that they can't bring to daycare. So that means they get 1 week off. For people that are at the upper level, somebody like the recreation director, for example, I think that is who works very hard, and others, I think that's a lot to expect for a full year. So some personal days instead of 30 sick days might be worthwhile.
Thank you. Tom, we've just invited any staff who are in the room who would like to speak to the questions about the personnel policy to do so. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I didn't see what, or wasn't here to hear what everybody said, but I'm sure.
No one else has spoken except Frank.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that just, to me, it's just the two same issues that we've talked about all along.
You want to just name them again for folks?
Yeah, sure. The overtime for the non-union employees, it really affects my 2 foremen who always had the overtime. And then our grievance process. We have no course to grieve anything that's taken against us.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Any other staff folks who would like to speak? Travis?
Yeah, Travis, Chief at the Police Department. So I did talk to Andrew and told him my concerns as well. We were heavily involved in the process of the personnel policy, right? Like, this isn't something that we came up with on our own. This was, hey, let's try to update the personnel policy that we had in place. Let's try to do it the right way, and that's what we did. And then in the last year and a half, it felt like it was very underfooted on how it was presented and how we were told we had to sign it. So I appreciate this opportunity for sure. And I did express my concerns to Andrew. And the main one for me is the grievance process, right? Like, there's nothing. Like, the union contract that I have for all of my officers lays out a progressive disciplinary style for any discipline that we have to do within the department. Like, why isn't it like that for non-union personnel? I don't know, right? Like, to me, it should be the same way as that. I understand what Frank is saying with the 30 days of sick days. I've been here for over 20 years. I have 3 kids. I can burn up quite a few sick days. Do I need 30? Probably not. And then the same thing with the vacation time. Like, I feel like I've earned my time, and if I get 6 weeks of vacation, I've been here in the city for over 20 years, so I feel like I've earned that as well. I don't think it's the same for, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's the same for department heads and non-union staff for yeah, it is. So the vacation's laid out all the same, right? And like, I try to correlate like what I get as a department head to like, what's the union that I basically cover and work for under my officers, right? Like, is it comparable? Is it fair? Am I getting the same benefits that they're getting? So that's what I'm trying to correlate it with. So, but I did express that to Andrew over the phone, so thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Anyone else like to speak? Just from staff, please. Just from staff tonight. We're not going to be done tonight, I can guarantee it. If you have other comments, you're welcome to speak with one of the council members.
I will speak for my office.
Go ahead, Jim.
Again, it's the grievance filing, the overtime. We used to get 40 overtime after 8 hours a day, and that was 40 hours a week. But if you work 12 hours one day and you're sick the next day, or it's a holiday, then the overtime goes away. It's not like it is. That's not how it is for the unions. And back up what Travis said, we were kind of, on the policy in effect now, we were theoretically forced to sign that. In my opinion. And I think everybody else's opinion also.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, anybody else? All right, so council members, before we go into an executive session with John Klesch, I wonder if you all have questions that you would just like to state publicly, things that you've been musing about or conversations, questions you have about it. About anything that's come up so far. It's just an opportunity for you to air an opinion if you have one or raise any questions before we go into executive session tonight.
Well, I appreciate the feedback that everybody's given. They're very candid, honest, and very forthright. You know, and I think it's great that everybody will stand. You know, the non-union folks stand up for what they feel is right.
Thank you, Andrew. Anyone else?
My understanding is that the aborted policy process was started essentially by consulting the HR experts at VLCT in terms of best practices. And that strikes me as a really good way to go for a couple of reasons. One important one of which is that VLCT is the insurance carrier for most of the municipalities in Vermont, and in that capacity, they are very, very tuned in to weaknesses in different communities, personnel policies, and pressure points for potential litigation or insurance claims. So it makes sense to me that their input in the process is pretty significant.
Thank you, John. Anyone else like to speak?
I'd just say I'm learning the nuances of union versus non-union and salary, non-salary. So this has been interesting to navigate, and I appreciate all those that are helping inform my understanding of that. Thanks.
Kevin, anything you want to add?
I'm glad we're finally doing this, but there are some issues that have been going on for a year, specifically with the OT. Not to rush it, but it's got to get done.
Okay, thank you. Okay. John Klesch, are you around and can you hear us?
Yes and yes.
So, John, this is putting you on the spot because in my crush trying to get everything done today, I forgot to grab the right language about attorney-client privilege. Can you offer that to the council members so we can invite a first motion from a council member? Do you have it handy? Or you know it off the top?
I think I can do a passable job off the top of my head.
Thank you.
But let me just explain what I'm about to suggest. What I'm about to suggest is a two-part motion, because under the general provision in the open meeting law, in order to have an executive session for attorney-client communications, there first has to be a finding that premature public knowledge of the matters to be discussed would prejudice the public body. And our view is that anytime you're going to have privileged communications with your legal counsel, there is by default a substantial disadvantage because it would be waiving privilege. So you will first make a motion and I'll give you the language in a second. You'll first make a motion to find that premature public knowledge of attorney-client communications would place the city council at a substantial disadvantage. You'll vote on that motion, and then if you have a majority in favor of that motion, then you will have satisfied the legal prerequisite to actually go into executive session. So you'll make a second motion to actually enter into executive session. All right?
That's a very good explanation. Thank you, John. And John, before you give those motions, as a courtesy, Kevin, I just want you to know, we had a little jumbling on our agenda before we got started, so unfortunately I've invited you in at least a few minutes early. So for the folks in the room, just so you know, Kevin Kite is another attorney who'll be speaking with us on another matter. So Kevin, we'll have to put you in a room outside of executive session for this session and then come back to you on the next item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, go ahead, please.
So the first motion I recommend you make is to move to find that premature public knowledge of attorney-client communications would place the city council at a substantial disadvantage due to the potential of waiver of privilege.
I'll make that motion.
I'll take the motion from John. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Carter. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Go ahead, John.
Okay, and then your second motion, now that you've made the prerequisite finding required by the statute, is simply to enter executive session and to invite me to attend with you.
I make a motion to go to an executive session and extend the invite to John,
To John Klesch.
John Klesch.
Great. I have a motion. Do I have a second from Andrew. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. We are in executive session. So I'm reminded by the attorney that as of July, the new rules for open meeting law say that we need a motion to come out of executive session in the same way that we make a motion to go into executive session. So I will state that no action was taken during the executive session and invite such a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second from Kevin. All those in favor of coming out of executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Hearing none, the motion carries and we are back in open session. And I will try and sum up where we are at the moment for the folks in the community. So after considerable deliberation tonight and over the last several weeks, it's pretty clear to the members of council that we have a lot more work to do. So we are nowhere near a decision tonight. Here's what we've agreed on. Each of the council members have agreed to take a particular set of questions that we have and do further investigation. And we are using some care not to create a situation in which council members are working with one another, because even two council members doing so could trigger open meeting law violations if we aren't being very careful. So each of them are going to take the opportunity to try and do some further investigation. I will tell you that those investigations include questions that we have around how overtime is handled. They include questions about current best practices with from VLCT's perspective. It's Vermont League of Cities and Towns. They include questions about best practices around grievance procedures and discipline procedures and how to handle them. And they include some questions about how best to interpret any changes that we might recommend, given the confusing landscape in which we have the 2014 policy, another draft of a policy that was considered by attorneys and shared with key staff who commented on that policy in 2023, but then did not take, there was no action taken on that policy. And then finally, another policy that was created in 2024, February 2024. So there's enough nuance and detail in all of that that we're going to need to be on our game in terms of being able to understand and explain to others, both our staff and people in the community, what it is we're actually affirming in the end and how that's different from previous policy or practice. So all of that is going to be things that we're going to be working on over the next period of time. I am using care not to put a deadline on this, because I don't know, we don't know how long it's going to take exactly. But Council President Charbonneau has agreed to oversee and shepherd this process on our behalf. And those of you who are longtime council member watchers will know that this has been a particular concern of Kevin's for some considerable time. And so you know that it's a concern for him that we deal with this in as timely a fashion. In fact, that was Kevin's comment before we went into executive session tonight.
Can you take questions?
Tonight? No, we've got a lot more work to do. But in general, if you have a concern or question that you would like to raise, please direct it to Councilmember Charbonneau. Okay? And we will be as forthcoming as we can. Oh, and the last thing I should say is, we've also all agreed that there will be at least one, maybe several, public sessions in which we have substantive conversation about policy matters that do not involve being an executive session. So we are not assuming that these conversations will all take place behind closed doors. In fact, the opposite is true. Our goal is to get to the point where we understand the issues well enough to entertain public conversation about them. Council members, if you think that I have misstated anything or you'd like to nuance anything I've said, this is your chance.
10 out of 10.
Okay, 10 out of 10. Thank you very much, Carter. All right, so if that's all we've got on that one, I'm going to move us on finally to the next item on the agenda. I'll apologize again, friends, for the fact that you're standing around out there. Please feel free to take chairs out in the hallway. I expect this session will also be extended, although probably not as long as the last one was. And we've got, then just to give you all an idea of what's coming, we're going to do an executive session on another legal matter. Then we're going to have what I expect will be a fairly lengthy public conversation led by Chip Stearns on our financial situation. Then we're eventually going to end up back in executive session around the consideration of an appointment for the Planning Commission, an appointment for Planning Commission. And then finally, brief reports on the local emergency management plan by Chief Lacoste and task force reports. So this is going to be a late evening, and my apologies. You're welcome to take chairs out in the hallway if you would like. So having said all of that, anything else before we go back into executive session on the next item? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session as per 1 VSA 3131F to review a proposed settlement agreement with legal counsel regarding the Andrew Capello lawsuit with a possible action to ratify the settlement following executive session. Do I have such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in executive session. And counsel, please. No action taken in executive session. May I have a motion to come out of executive session?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I would like to make a motion to approve the settlement agreement in the case of Capello versus the City of Newport as we discussed this evening of August 4th.
2025.
2025.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Got that in writing somewhere.
Yes.
Send that to me tomorrow.
Okay. I can write it on a Post-it note. Would you like it on a Post-it note? No.
Take it any way you want to do it.
Okay.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the settlement agreement. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. And if we haven't already released him, Kevin, thank you very much for your time this evening, and we'll be back in touch.
You're very welcome. Good night.
Thank you.
Will that be a public document?
Eventually. Not tonight, because it has to be agreed upon
It has to be
and completed.
I understand, but once executed, it will become a public document. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Stearns, you have been remarkably patient. At least you haven't chimed in, which I guess counts. And I know that you have an interest in sharing more than just the balance sheet reports from the last round. So I'm wondering if you're ready to give us a report on all of the material you sent me, which was all included in the public packet that the council and the members of the community have.
Okay, do you want me to share my screen or?
Yeah, probably that would be easiest, right, Carter, as opposed to us putting each document up on the screen ourselves?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Chip, because I don't know what is in your, with the city.
I can find it in the packet thing, but yeah, let's try it, Chip. Why don't you share your screen, please?
All right, I'm taking it from your packet, so it's all okay.
All right.
Thank you.
This window, share.
All right, and then let's see if we can make it much bigger.
Getting there.
Carter can help with that on our end too, I think. What are we going to look at first, Chip?
So, I have the recommendations first, which somewhere down here, let me increase.
That's great.
And can you see that?
I can't see it.
Almost. Can it go any bigger?
Okay.
That's better. And if you're still having trouble in the back of the room, please come forward. Okay, Chip, go ahead.
Okay, let me kind of open it up a little bit here.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been looking at cash accounts. And as of Friday, when this was typed up, we had all of these cash accounts with balances in them that we felt were unnecessary to maintain as a cash account. And then during the day today, with Chief Bingham, we determined that one of these accounts is actually restricted because it has to do with federal assets that were purchased with federal grant money. So you'll notice about in the middle of the screen where it says Stone Garden Savings. We are not going to be able to close that account. And at the bottom, I altered the amount in all these accounts. And our goal again here is to consolidate cash and only maintain cash accounts where they are required. The auditors concurred with this concept of simplifying cash accounts and said the only thing they really want to make sure of is the city council is aware and authorizes the closure of accounts. So that group on top there is the motion, the amounts, and the total values. I can read them, or someone could read that to make the motion.
So we can make this motion and then have discussion around it.
We can make the motion and then have discussion, sure.
Okay.
And I'll just give you a number. If you subtract the Stone Garden 60000.60, 4377.29, exclude that item from this motion, the total value prior to any interest earned before closing would be $45,143.72.
Okay. So I move the Newport City Council, that we authorize the city treasurer, lovely Jim Johnson, to close and consolidate the following accounts into the general fund checking for a total value of $45,153.72 prior to any interest earned before closing.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, and now we in fact are open for discussion. Any council members first, and then we'll ask the community if they have anything. Okay, Ann, go ahead.
First of all, I don't understand what it means, note. This is only an accounting step and doesn't involve actual cash. Does that mean that there is no cash in any of these accounts that you are closing?
That's a separate motion underneath what we're doing now, and
So there's going to be a separate conversation about the $17 and hanging value and
Oh, that's only about that $17. That's not
And,
actual.
well, there are two more motions, if I understand it correctly, right, Chip? There's the $17 motion and the motion to authorize the city treasurer to adjust the fund balance to zero.
And
Right.
I do have some questions about some of the stuff that's up there. The performing arts savings, was that money that the city provided, or is that a donation from someone else in the community? And the same with the scholarship savings. Was that a donation from someone else with limited, with restrictions on it? Yes or no? Do we know that?
I believe all of those are set aside through the same spreadsheet for reserves that we've abandoned.
What I'm asking, though, is who put the money in there to begin with? Because if it's a citizen, a private citizen, or something like that, they might not want the money to simply move into the general fund. They might have wanted somebody to receive a scholarship or have something to do with performing arts. Do we know?
So it is my belief all of these were set up from cash in the general fund to begin with.
So you're saying they weren't private donations?
Correct.
And what about the Gardner Park and the ice rink? Were they private donations?
Those projects were done.
I'm sorry?
Those projects were done.
That's work that was
Funds that were
completed.
set aside ultimately got paid out of the general fund first.
The projects were done, but was it funded by a private person who wanted the money to go to the ice rink or the Prouty Beach improvement or the Gardner Park improvement? At which point, there are still things that could be done to improve those things, and a private citizen might have wanted their money to be used for those purposes, not put in a general fund.
So more than all the money that is in these small accounts has already been used to improve the ice skating rink. That work was already done. The Gardner Park improvements is, I hope, done soon. And so all the private donations have been used, but the cash was written out of the general fund check first.
I must be not understanding, but it seems to me that if a person makes a donation for things that could continue to be improved, that it should not be that that money goes into just the general fund, that the money stays there until Gardner Park needs another improvement, or Prouty Beach needs another improvement, or there's one more.
So if
The
I
ice
could,
rink.
so my understanding, Ann, of what's taking place here is that this money was given for a specific purpose. More than this amount of money was spent on the improvement, but not transferred out of this account to that end. So what we're doing here, if we follow this recommendation tonight, is simply recognizing that the general fund already covered the full cost of this event, and we're removing what was an intended donation for that purpose from the special savings account to replace that money that was spent in the general fund.
And Chip, you are satisfied that that is true, more than the general fund spent more than it should have out of the general fund on these three things? And being compensated now? That is what you're saying you've discovered?
Yes.
No, I have no other questions.
Thank you.
This time.
Other questions? Council members? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to authorize the city treasurer to close and consolidate all of the accounts listed here with the exception of the Stone Garden Savings at PSB for a total value of $45,143.72 prior to any interest earned before closing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The motion carries. Want to move us to our next action on that sheet, please, Chip?
What's that?
Go to the next action on that sheet.
Yep. So, hanging since 2012, according to the auditors, has been this $17 in the project fund. It is residual. It is only a function of accounting that it exists. There is no physical cash account in this fund. This is seen right now as the general fund owing the project fund $17. It is immaterial in value and simply carries a weight needlessly, and the auditors and myself both concur that this should be, if you will, shut down by transferring the $17 of value out of this fund to zero it out and giving, if you will, $17 to the general fund as miscellaneous income.
And I'll note that I misspoke earlier. This is not two items. This is the motion regarding the $17 that has been driving Chip Stearns nuts for the last 5.5 months. Every time he mentions it, I can tell it just grates on him.
I quite enjoy it when we go through the balance.
And it's a good thing you noted, Chip, that there's no actual cash involved because at least one community resident's already asked us to spend it on their lunch.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion to authorize the city treasurer to adjust the project's fund balance to zero and move that value into the general fund with the understanding that this is an accounting step and does not involve actual cash?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? And I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thank you, Chip.
So glad we have this time together.
We're not done yet.
We're not done yet. Okay. Now I'm going to bring up the balance sheet. Now this is as of Friday morning at 9:15 a.m. And I can tell you that since that time, which is 2 business days, the numbers that you're seeing now have changed. For example, we have drawn another $200,000 on the line of credit, tax anticipation note line of credit, and our present cash account has $433,000 in it. So balance sheets change daily based upon accounting activity, and so what you're looking at, if you will, is already 4 days old. The key pieces to look at, again, and I keep harping on this, due to from other funds is at $1,388,435.18. That is value of dollars owed from other funds cumulatively to the general fund. Again, relates to questions that are being asked of the voters in 8 days. Just below that line, the tax anticipation note of $850,000 is $1,050,000 today. The line below that, which is accounts payable, today is 0. All of our accounts payable bills have been paid. We have nothing pending. So cash went up, cash went down, accounts payable got paid. Dropping to the bottom, where we look at current year fund balance, is in the red, almost $250,000. That should make sense because our primary source of revenue, which is taxation, won't be seen until 2 months from now or more. So we are constantly spending more than we're bringing in, which when we get to the budget status report will be seen more clearly as well. Those highlights of the general fund balance sheet. We're having a banner year in the mooring management fund. $300 has come in. It's still in the hawk, $4,000. So we're hoping that there's a lot more slips to be filled out there this summer. Project fund. Somebody's lunch will be cleared up tomorrow. Cemetery fund. Again, I want to point out that this fund is supposed to be perpetual care and generate enough income to support mowing the grass. It's about $8,000 a year to mow the grass, and when you look at the due to income, it looks like for 3 years it hasn't made enough money to mow the grass. So as I mentioned before, it would appear that cemetery maintenance, mowing the grass, needs to become a function of general government, our base fund, and whatever income that this can generate for cash simply should be transferred to the general fund as somewhat of an offset for the cost to mow the grass. I may come back to you later and ask for the city council to authorize moving $23,005.39 of value, which is not cash, into this fund to relieve the obligation of the due to from, meaning the taxpayers are going to have to eat it.
Can I just ask?
Go ahead.
The principal investments up there, are we making any interest on them? And, I mean, can we up that a bit? The $200,000, that's principal investment.
So when we get to the budget status report, you'll see the interest that has been booked for July, because we're on a fiscal year. And right now, the current year fund balance says 0, so we probably haven't booked any of the statement interest earned yet.
Well, do we know what it normally makes? What is it in a 5% account, a 4% account?
I do not know.
And my understanding is that we don't control it, right? The city doesn't control that. The cemetery fund, the cemetery committee controls that. Is that right, Jim?
Yeah, cemetery commissioners.
Yeah, the commissioners, yeah.
So the appropriate place to direct that question would be to the cemetery commissioners.
You're not in charge of the cemetery commissioners.
No, that's a separate,
I don't, to the best of my knowledge, no.
no, we're not.
I think it's a separate bank account, right? We don't.
Correct. The way it works, the principal investment earns interest. That interest is dropped down to what I think it calls it an income, another investment account. It's in the income. So the principal earns interest, it goes into another investment account that we get to spend. Okay, what that makes. And you can't touch the principal at all.
But who controls that fund? Do we control it as a city?
Well,
Or does the cemetery committee
Well-
control it?
the cemetery committee decides what gets spent and what doesn't.
But it's in the name of the city of Newport?
We are the trustee of it. It's not,
Okay.
it's not the city of Newport Cemetery Fund. It's the east side.
At least not currently. I mean, what I hear Chip saying is, at some
Well,
point,
for the mowing lawn.
yeah. So it does seem to me to be appropriate to ask our cemetery committee to come back with a report on what's going on and why they, is Chip right that what's going on is we're spending $8,000 a year to mow the lawn, and that's not going to be sustainable, and do we need to come up with a new arrangement?
Yeah, and when he gets to the Niles Fund operates the same way.
Understood. Okay, let's keep going, Chip.
All good, okay. Curly S. Niles, nothing within the city's control. CDBG funds, these top 3 accounts have pretty much been stagnant for a number of years, and the council just authorized closing them. And between all of these accounts where the interest has been booked for January, when you look at the current year fund balance, on $31,000, we have gained $2.98. And so you can't print out the journal entry to cover the cost. Public safety funds. There's only one on this list that we are now closing, the START grant cash account. Stone Garden, which originally was on this list, we discovered that there were ATVs that were purchased using Stone Garden grant fund money. They were sold for $10,300 or $10,800. And that cash can only be used to buy equipment for the Stone Garden activities in the grant. And the residual is what's left, $43,7729, that we are leaving segregated. It's under the control of the police chief. The other 2 treasury are required to be kept separate through the federal government asset forfeiture practice.
Hey, Chip.
And thus, yes.
Sorry, you were mid-thought, if you want to complete that.
Yep, that's all there is.
Okay.
Federal government says you gotta keep separate accounts.
Sweet. Do you know what the acronym MMA stands for? I Googled
Money
it.
market account.
Money market account. That makes sense, more than mixed martial arts. Okay, thank you.
Yes, we're not fighting here.
Money market
Recreation fund. All of these are closing. And between them, we should be able to clear that due to from right now that is a negative, because the value above them should cover how much is owed to the general fund. Again, projects, bills were paid out of the general fund cash account, hitting Fund 7 expenditures over the years, and the cash didn't get moved. So we're moving it. Currently, we've spent more money out of this fund than we brought in by $228. The fun ones, sewer. Again, the receivables, what customers owe for sewer right now. The big ticket item, again, related to the articles to be voted on in 8 days. The sewer is primarily the largest one that owes the general fund cash. Today's value, or Friday's value, was $974,995.93. Since the bills got paid, it's only higher. And it's higher by that 1629.59 accounts payable for the bills that got paid. Once payroll is done, it will increase again because we pay wages and benefits out of there. The reserves are gone. And this is the interesting piece. You'll see the same thing during the budget status report. Current year fund balance, $58,898.60 in the hole. For the same reason that the primary revenue is billing, which is done quarterly. So we're a month and a half away from seeing large amounts of revenue come in, and yet monthly we have to pay the bills. So revenue does not meet the expenditures in the first period. It's a known condition, happens every year. Moving on to water. Again, receivables, what customers owe us. At the top, owed to the general fund as of Friday morning, $384,995.96. That number was almost zero at the end of FY25. And one of the first things we did in FY26 was make that arsenic payment for $166,000, and we've paid a couple payrolls since then. So that's why this particular fund was not a warrant article for the 12th, because at the end of 25, they really didn't owe the general fund back cash at that to any amount that was necessary. And then current year fund balance. We have expended $244,930.51 more than we brought in revenue in the water. A lot of that probably has to do with the water tower project bills still being paid. So that is the highlight of the what you have, what you owe, what you're worth.
Should we pause there just for a second, Chip? That's the end of the balance sheet report, right?
Yes.
Okay, so are there any questions from council or members of the community before we move on? Jennifer?
So, on the water fund, you said that at the close of the fiscal year 25, it didn't owe at that point money to the general fund, and that's why there's no warning or bond, initiative on that. Is it reasonable to assume that once the water payments come in on September 15th, that fund will again be healthy? Or are we going to be running a deficit at that point in time?
So the projection is that it'll be healthy because we are going to go to a bond anticipation note and then convert to a long-term bond. And in that activity, plus the rates increasing for both water and sewer, we should see it begin to grow a value again and be in a positive position with the general fund in its relationship. But the general fund is holding its money to pay its bills. So it's not going to be cash starved.
Because if I understand you correctly, Chip, what you're saying is that part of what is driving this is the fact that there's still water construction costs for the water tower that are here as well.
Yes, up here on, I'll find it, the construction for the water tower The line of credit sits at $1.4 million. One of the articles that is for the 12th of August is to renew the bonding authority because we have this line of credit that's got to be paid back October 6th. And we need to bridge the gap to get to the Vermont Bond Bank, which should give us 20 or 30 years to pay off $3 million.
Right, but you mentioned that it was the arsenic payment that caused it to tip into the red. And so my question remains, I mean, is it going to be healthy again when we get the payments in, or are we going to be recurrently having this arsenic payment that's causing us to go into a deficit status?
It's only timing of when that loan is due, right at the beginning of the fiscal year. It causes it to immediately jump to have expenses exceed revenue and the amount of cash you have on hand. And the cash on hand is still going to be addressed through the renewal of the long-term or the bond anticipation note to then become a bond. So it's only a timing issue that we had a large payment due on July 1st.
Any other questions from the community?
I have a question. I guess it's less about the financial.
Just speak up so he can hear.
Sorry. I guess it's less about the financial stuff. I was just wondering, as far as the arsenic thing goes, because that's a naturally occurring thing. Was that solved permanently, or is that something that's going to have to be done every couple of years? Did we find like the source of it? Like why? Because there was like the environmental working group reported 15,000 times the safe level of arsenic in the drinking water. So is that resolved now, or is that something that's going to have to be resolved over and over again?
I don't think that's one you have the answer to, right, Chip?
Well, my guess is that you borrowed money to solve that problem because it was required to be addressed both federally and by the state. And so that's what that indebtedness is that's due on July 1st of every year till the note's paid off. I don't know the terms of the note, but annually you start your year with a bond payment of $166,000.
So that's the payment on the arsenic plant, isn't it?
Yes.
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 It's an annual payment.
So the levels of arsenic should have already been addressed because that's why we're paying debt on it.
Okay, so it's going to stay resolved, like this continuing payment also comes with a continuing solution to the problem?
Yes.
Or?
In other words, the problem was solved,
Okay.
and we're paying into the future in order to solve it.
Okay.
Okay? It's a great question.
Yeah, and it speaks to like water quality issues, is those, once they arise and they hit that threshold, that there's continuous monitoring to ensure that, arsenic, because you're right, it is a naturally occurring, harmful element, so.
Okay, any other questions from the community or from council about the balance sheets before we move on? Okay, Chip, we have a new and exciting report for you to review with us.
So, oh my gosh, these are long. Budget status reports. We are 1/12 of the way through the year, which means the budget line item, if it's straight line expense, should be at 8.33% spent. You will find numbers are not straight line expense in municipal cash. It just doesn't happen that way. So, in the general fund, the highlights. Our budget for taxes, this would be to be raised by taxes, which would include the appropriations. And we've already collected $218,633.67. That's somewhat of a misnomer because that is the state tax municipal adjustment amount. That came in in July from the state on around or about probably July 4th, 5th. And when asked where to book it, I told Jim to please put it into property tax revenue. That is where it belongs.
Which is new and different, Chip, right? Because it had its own line, which is how we ended up in the position of thinking that it was other
new and
revenue.
different beginning 2018. Otherwise, it was normal.
Okay.
The street department income, that's state aid to highways, $42,000, comes in quarterly. And we are at the beginning of summer, so Proudey Beach is collecting some money. Rec programs collecting some money. And the waterfront is also collecting some money. So much of the summer activity, you see a lot of income come in, usually in June and in July for recreation. And then it peters right off as you get into the fall.
Chip, how big of an ask would it be to figure out where some of these would have been in this, a year ago? Like, I mean, it's great. I mean, the recreation department is one of our few departments that has revenue as far as in this timely way that I'm wanting to have comparables, basically.
Yep. So we can run what's called a comparative budget report, period 1 to last year, period 1.
Oh, okay, great.
It would just add 2 more columns and drop off the budget balance column. But that can be generated. And in this case, again, for purposes of the city council, I'm using a function in the accounting which is suppressing the detail, meaning a couple hundred lines, down to a header account. So all we're seeing are header accounts in the report. Otherwise, I think the number of pages for the general fund is like 38.
Good to know that that's at our disposal as far as like the financial task force and things like that.
Yep.
Thank you.
So then, want to note here, total revenues anticipated, $7,741,161. And we are 1/12 through the year, and budget to actual, 4.79%. So if we expected straight line revenue, we'd be at 8.33%. Now we're going to jump through the expenditures, which are also suppressed basically by departments. The city council as a group is doing wonderful. They're at 0.1%. They haven't spent any money. And by the way, you're not getting paid. City manager is down. There's something still happening within that section. But all of these are well under our 8.33 threshold test. In general government operations, $957,211 is budgeted. And those are large raw numbers to look at. We'll step into public safety. First group is the police department, where you can see the raw numbers again. Police administration is running a little higher than the 1/12 of the budget, 8.33%. Police patrol is. Police dispatch is just about on.
Hey, Chip, I may be missing something back to the income. There's no Oh, I see it, never mind. I'm all set. I was looking at the wrong line item. Thank you.
Okay. So our police department budget, 2.479822 is the total budget for everything to do with police. In the year-to-date, 9.44% of their budget is expenditures. Something to bear in mind is that there are police overtime projects like Stone Garden that are reimbursable. And we have not seen revenue come in for something we might have billed to the federal government or other agencies. Because they too do have a source of the income. Fire department. Well under the 8.33 threshold. Fire department budget, $244,148. And when you bring together all of public safety, police and fire, 2.723970 is the budget on public safety. Public Works. Run down through the largest standout here is city property, $107,750 as a budget. We spent $29,348.40. And again, this is in the month of July. However, we have since, can't remember what day it was, July 28th, when the auditors appeared, we were no longer allowed to book invoices that were for the prior fiscal year back into the prior fiscal year. So they have been charged to the current year, and by adjusting journal entry will be moved back to last year with the audit. So it is quite conceivable that part of this city property has to do with the Causeway and Gardner Park activities that the Public Works is overseeing. So we will see shifts probably in that line significantly after the audit's done. Otherwise, the rest of the lines are under the 8.33. One little standalone city landscaper, 82,756 budgeted for city landscaper as a department. It's under the 8.33. Recreation, busy time of year. So they are over 8.33. And again, the total for the recreation department, 779,444, running 10.95% of their budget to actual. Conservation development. We spent $78.47. I'm not sure what that is. It seems like it may be a membership or a grant expenditure that seeks reimbursement. I haven't looked at the detail behind that to know. Then we'll roll into the next group. Health and welfare is the 082 group. 32,000, spent 2,000, 6.8%. The next large group is debt service, and miscellaneous. This is one of those prime examples of where sometimes a percentage doesn't mean anything. Personal expenses, we have no budget. We spent $1194.61, so it reports 100% of the budget's been spent. Simply mathematics, and that 100% will skew, if you do an average of percentages, that'll skew your percentage. When we do the averages, it is totals of budget divided with total of actual. That's how we get to this 1488 as your average. So debt service, 656,491 is your budget for debt service. I think, well, I can't prove it, is that that may not include all the debt service payments. Because I've seen from last year, there are debt payments that have been booked with no budget. That's part of our deep dive into our budget process we have yet to do. Next big ticket item is capital improvements. 807,500, 36,104.50 has been spent. And there's a whole list of capital improvement lines. This was formerly known as the spreadsheet section, where we were tracking, or you were tracking manually, annually, with a belief that there was cash backing up values. And then the appropriations, these are what the voters, by listing, chose to have raised in taxes and given away to third parties. So the total expenditures, with all of the entries that have been put in, including the appropriations, $7,802,341.88. So I'm not sure, but I suspect that the spreadsheet used and printed in the annual report, that the general fund plan budgeted revenues to match expenditures. And yet, as plugged into the accounting system, the general fund nets out $61,180.88 of intended deficit with the numbers that are in the accounting system. We have yet to reconcile the 26 budget as entered with the spreadsheet. It was entered before I got involved, and that's an exercise that still has to be done, because I believe the spreadsheet has broken formulas in it that have been used and probably been wrong for a number of years. And on the balance sheet in the general fund, this general fund actual, 244,366.10 of expenditures over revenues is the same number that appears on the balance sheet, known as the current year fund balance. Actual revenue less actual expenditures. So in a nutshell, the general fund budget, I think, has questions of it's not balanced, and that there are a few lines in it that are in excess already for spending that we probably want to know the reason why. So that is a task force question of being able to try to dig into it. They will get this report not in the suppressed to headers. They'll get the 120-something page report to wheel through. So that's your general fund. Primary source of income is taxation. We are 1/12 of the way through the year. this is where you stand now with the observations I've made.
Thank you, Chip.
You make that?
So I have a question from the community. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Mr. Stearns, I think when you commented on debt service and said that it seemed as though there was something that wasn't included in the budget, and I would echo that. I know at least one of the items that wasn't included was the Gardner Park remediation loan, and that the payments are ongoing with that, and it's not included in the budget. So that would be one area that the task force is going to want to take a look at.
Thank you, Jeff.
And it had to do with the remediation of the soil before they started the playground.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a 5-year, $200,000 note, is that what you think?
And so, hang on, I'm trying to get my information here. I believe it was approved in June of '24. And former Mayor Sullivan signed it in July of '24. So it would have started kicking in for payment sometime in probably July or August of '24.
Yep.
I don't know the total amount of it.
Okay, we'll go look
I
at it.
actually was looking through emails and found the $200,000 5-year note. And the first thing that came to my mind was that authorized and approved by the voters. It's beyond 1 year. I don't know the answer to that. It's already in progress, and it is, those refer to it as Gardner Park. It's with the subject savings of 5.09% interest rate and a monthly payment schedule.
What I know is former Mayor Sullivan executed it in July of '24.
Okay, it's on our list. And I'll just say a word. Go ahead, Chip, I'm sorry.
And so one of the things we were looking for before the auditors came and after they got here was a listing of the debt schedule that the city has. And like many documents, we obtained the debt schedules from the auditors that were used in the past, and we need to generate our own within the city so that we have our own debt schedule and know what it is and what accounts are associated to it. And like I said, it's not rocket science, it just needs to be done.
So I'll just say a word about where we are in the deep dive into this year's budget, which is that Chip has now generated transaction reports for each department head that give exactly what every transaction has been attributed to in the budget. And we are asking the department heads to spend the next month or so doing a deep dive into whether or not, basically to create a list for us of everything that goes into every line item in the budget that the task force will then review on behalf of the council, or, in order to prepare the council for further conversation about this. So that's going to be a process that takes probably the next 4 to 6 weeks to play out. But that's what we're working toward. And then simultaneously, Chip is also working with the task force to begin a process of reviewing and revising our coding system so that we can get far more information and slice and dice our data differently if we use the coding that's available to us through NEMRIC more effectively. And the last thing I'll say about this is we will follow our advisor's advice and break ourselves of the habit of using spreadsheets to create the budgets and to monitor the budgets, because those spreadsheets are hard, have been resistant to matching NEMRIC. And we want all of that work to be done in NEMRIC so that we know that we've got confidence-inspiring numbers. Is that an appropriate way to say that, Chip? And is there anything you want to add?
No, that's perfect. If it didn't come out of your financial system, it's probably not accurate.
Okay, council members, do you have any questions about any of this?
This is just a general fund.
Yeah, I know. Let's move on and do the last ones, keeping in mind that we have miles to go before we sleep tonight.
First thinks it's clear we're standing here. Mooring management income, $300. That's what we already identified. Project fund, a whole bunch of zeros. Again, a dormant fund that we're moving $17 value out of. Cemetery fund, nothing's been booked for July yet. Burley S. Niles fund, nothing's been booked for July yet. CDBG, $2.98 in interest income. And we wonder why we have a cash account. So there's all the projects, no activity. Public safety, interest on the treasury, 22 cents. And 8 cents on the other account, 1748. Okay. Recreation trust, nothing's been booked. What we did spend on other expenditures, $228. Not sure what that is. I would venture a guess that probably may have something to do with Gardner Park. Sewer fund, now we're cooking. So the anticipated income, $1,738,208 is the budget. We've only gotten a little bit of minuscule income because we haven't done our first bill yet. But I want to drop right to the bottom and notice that our revenue budget is less than our expense budget. And we expect to lose $1,937.19. Again, posing the question in my mind, did the spreadsheet have a problem with the formulas? And we're really not seeing anything out of the ordinary because the water and sewer both have to have 7-day work weeks for the required testing and reporting.
We have a question.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Mr. Stearns, I believe Ms. Hopkins, who is on the Water and Sewer Commission, is appearing by Zoom at this moment. She was aware of this deficit that was looming out there, and I think it had something to do with the fact that the data coming to the Water and Sewer Commission when they set the rates was not accurate, but she can speak to it if she is able to speak on the Zoom.
You want to add anything, Jennifer Hopkins?
Not at this time. I think that, yes, we made some assumptions with the data because we didn't have a chance to go through it. So I think that we will see the water and sewer both fall short of making themselves whole this year. Exactly how much, we do not know. But there is definitely going to be a shortfall, never mind the $1 million loan that is in the sewer upcoming.
Well, if I could add to that, Jennifer, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but there is, if we don't take any action, there is definitely a shortfall. But water and sewer rates can be adjusted quarterly, and it's the Water and Sewer Task Force's intent to look carefully at these numbers and make appropriate adjustments so that we do not have a shortfall on, I think it's October 30, is that right? But no later than October 30, John.
We really want to see the audit report, even the preliminary audit report.
Which we will have in plenty of time for this, we've been assured.
That's the hope.
Is that anything you want to add to that, Jennifer?
The only thing is, I think it was just the point of saying something is to prepare people for the sake that, yes, water and sewer rates are going to be adjusted yet again, and up is about the only way they're going to head.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, is the personnel expenses are at 14.61, way in excess of that 8.3%, almost double that. And the same for the other expenses. There's about $100,000 that was budgeted, and we're about double in those expenditures than we would expect for 1 month's worth. Is that problematic? Chip?
It could be.
We don't know yet. We have to go deep.
So what we don't know, let's use a simple example. If we had a sewer main burst, then we have a lot of excess labor involved in it that we wouldn't normally have, because it's not an individual doing lab tests, it's man and machine in the street. And that's DPW that does all of the things that happen in the street. So it could be highway got involved, water employees got involved, sewer employees got involved because there was a break. And typically, once you start repairing the break, be it water or sewer, something down the street or up the street breaks while you're working on it.
Did we have a break?
We did. Glen Road was an issue.
Right.
I don't know that that's where it's attributed, but yes, we did. Lori?
So I want to go back to the previous conversation. So John or Jennifer, so we know that we increase rates June, July, August, due September. Do we anticipate a rate increase for September, October, November for any of the miscalculation or whatever it was? And then again, the next quarter to handle the one?
Because they have to be, because the rates have to be set in advance, we're going to have 2 quarters. The quarter that's being billed now, and then the next billing will be at the rate that we previously set. So it would only be the 3rd and 4th quarters of this fiscal year that would be adjusted. And for the 3rd quarter, the adjustment has to take place during the month of October in order to be in place at the beginning of the next quarter, which begins November 1st. And so that November 1st quarter is the beginning of the 3rd billing quarter of the fiscal year.
All right. Okay, folks, I'm going to move us along, okay? We got a long way to go still. Chip, you want to move to the next one, please?
Yeah, I think the evaluation of rates we'll know after we've calculated bills. Water fund. Again, the revenue stream, really nothing coming in, but the revenue budget, $1,154,37, and the expense budget, $1,060,538. Again, just within this fund, there's a deficit in the budgeting. So again, repeating the same thing, that the budgets in the financial system need to be compared to whatever was used for budgeting in the spreadsheets to see if we can determine whether or not input was wrong or the spreadsheet actually does not sum correctly. And to follow the debt service, you see we have $420,000 budgeted for debt service, and almost half of the debt service has already been paid, and we're in the first month of 12 for a fiscal year. So that has an impact on the cash. The cash is the due problem. Overall, all revenue, all expense budgets, government-wide, we anticipate $73,219.07 of deficit spending if we perfectly match the budget revenues and expenditures.
So I trust the finance team is making a note of that number, because that's the number we got to start working on. Okay? Any questions for Chip on the overall before we move on? Chip, I can't tell you how good it is to have a meeting in which we have an actual set of numbers for our spending year to date. I'm so grateful for all your time that you put into this, and and your time tonight, and we will release you.
Well, I got one more page.
Oh, I thought we were done. Oh yeah, there's your last one, right? Go ahead. I moved on. I looked at it already.
Yep. So at the end of our first month, this is the position of each of the funds in relativity to the general fund. And the general fund, as I pointed out, is owed $1,388,435.18. All the funds with a negative number owe the general fund money. The third one down, that's $17, somebody's lunch. That's going to be dealt with tomorrow. And then we're going to see numbers shift in all funds except water and sewer, that we are moving cash. And the goal is that the due-to funds must sum to zero. If somebody says I'm owed, somebody else has to say I owe it. That's what this report shows very clearly, where each fund stands relative to the general fund, and that all of our bills are paid out of the general fund checkbook.
We've come a long way.
5 months ago, that number was nearly $2 million.
All right, Chip, I'm going to say thank you and let you go, and we'll move on to our next agenda item.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
Thank you so much, Chip.
Thank you.
Okay, friends, we're getting there. We've already done item 8, the verbal report on the audit. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session as per 1 VSA section 313A3 for the purpose of considering the appointment of a public official to the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any comment? Clearly, there's some comment. Go ahead, Pam.
Can we question whether or not this needs to be an executive session? This is not a personnel issue. This is a volunteer position. That does not usually need an executive session.
So I'll just say that it's my judgment that the policy for executive sessions allows for this conversation to take place in executive session for any elected official as well. And it's my judgment that it makes sense for us to have some conversation given the heat around this particular nomination, for us to be able to discuss it as a council, which we have not done to date. Go ahead, Ann.
I have a procedural issue around whether or not there have been conflicts of interest that should have required or shall require people to recuse themselves.
We have not yet gotten to the recusal one. We haven't, I suspect there's going to be a recusal. We haven't gotten there.
I have a preliminary one. I believe Dennis Chenette sat on the Planning Commission who voted on this issue, and I believe that because of his friendship with Paul Manette, in fact, I understood that for a long time he drove Paul around when Paul couldn't drive.
Okay, so I'm going to shut it down, Ann, because it's, in my judgment, this is no different than any other number of nominations we've had in the past. There are always going to be personal relationships and friendships involved. So
and I have a second one, though, a second issue that relates to both Kevin, relates to Kevin in that he sat and Dennis sat on the council in the time period that we've talked about for financial problems. And they would both have an interest in not questioning in any way the mayor at that time, Paul Manette's qualifications with regard to financial issues, because they were also involved as voters at that time. Some of the same things that apply would apply to them. So they would have an interest in not questioning that. And I would suggest for that reason, both Dennis should have and Kevin should recuse themselves.
I hear your suggestion, It's their decision whether or not they believe they should recuse themselves. It's my judgment that at this point, nothing has been done inappropriately or any differently than any other number of nominations that have taken place in the city over many, many years, including recently. So I don't think we should develop a new standard tonight. The council has received all kinds of input, both in favor of and against the nomination of Paul Manette to serve on the Planning Commission. And we're going to go into executive session if it's the will of the council and have a conversation about that momentarily. Any other conversation that we want to have before we
Just
go?
to nip it in the bud, I'm abstaining and I'm not participating in the executive session and I'm not voting afterwards. I'm abstaining all the way through. So squelch that.
Thank you, John. Okay, so we're going to have at least one abstention in this vote. Did we do a motion already?
Yeah.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of going into executive session as stated and for the reason stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes with 3 in favor and 1 abstention. We are executive. No action was taken in executive session. I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay.
I'll abstain.
And the motion carries with 1 abstention.
I move the council to re-advertise the vacant position on the Planning Commission and ask the Planning Commission to bring forth a slate of names for council consideration.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any comment that members of the council would like to make?
I would just like to say that I am speaking on behalf of a number of constituents that have reached out to me within the last week and a half or so. And I think along the main vein of looking for new leadership and just with their concerns, I just think it's really important to open up roles in our local government for new voices. This doesn't mean that folks cannot come to these public meetings. We're asking for maybe some interested folks to come into Newport City with fresh ideas.
Thank you, Carmen. Any other comment from council members?
Thank you.
Kevin? Okay. No, I'm not going to take comments from the public since there's been such an extensive opportunity to offer them in advance. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I have 3 in favor. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
1 abstention.
Motion passes with 1 abstention. Thank you, council members. Okay, we are on to item number 10. Chief Kevin Lacoste, I know I'm going to hear about this tomorrow morning, but it's only 10:20 and you get your chance to speak.
So the funny part is, I just got a text from my wife, where are you?
I'm willing to sign an affidavit that you were here in the room.
I'm at the tavern here, I should be. Yeah, so,
Want to reach out, he was very.
you guys all got this in your packet. I sent it to Rick, I believe, last Friday. This is basically the same local emergency management plan that's been adopted from year to year. The only thing that changes in this is obviously the names, the contacts, council members, the mayor. I did leave the city manager's position vacant. I did not fill a name in there yet, just to confirm, but this is a live, working document. I've been in contact with Zach Bors, the state emergency management director. He said at any time that phone numbers, contacts, anything needs to be changed, feel free to reach out to him. I do have the website that I can go in and change things, but and basically this is just a plan for, something major, flooding, major fire, that we have a plan, we have contacts, that we're not, trying to go through the phone, look for things. We have a document that has a lot of real valuable resources at our disposal. Again, I think most of the I think I've changed most everything that I could find. There still could be a couple of the daycares maybe that I haven't been in contact with. Kevin, go ahead.
3 resources. Program Administrator Rebecca Darian.
Like I said, I thought I'd gone through this, but which page is that on?
Page 2. Resources.
I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
It says number 2, but it's actually,
Oh, it's under number 2. There it is.
yeah, it's actually the 4th page in.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I absolutely will correct that.
Do you think that we should have something that reflects the vacantness of the city manager? Or is this kind of duplicative in that like either Travis or you would take over those responsibilities?
Yeah, so either Travis, myself would be the first contacts, absolutely.
I still don't see it. Can you help me on page?
Well, at the bottom it says number 2, but
Oh, I see.
it's actually
I guess I'm not seeing it either, Kevin, I'm sorry.
under resources. So,
Oh, yeah, Programs Administrator.
There it is. Under the box labeled number 3, resources, Kevin,
But it is on
Yeah.
page 2.
on the page, 4th page of our packet, but page 2 in this document. I'll help you find it.
All right, well,
I've circled it.
Yeah, so anyways, I can, you know, if you guys find it.
Nice catch.
Thank you,
Kevin.
mister.
which is it's Carrie,
Yeah, so, again, guys, I can correct this at any point in time. I think what needs to happen is, if you guys read this and approve it, it just needs to be signed, and then I can send it to the state so that they have it on record. This is a yearly documentation that needs to be signed and updated. Thank you for finding that, Kevin. Again, I looked at it, must be enough time, so
Any questions or concerns? This has been out in the public as well. If anybody has any comments or questions about it. Feels good to me to be renewing it right now. So do I have a motion to adopt the NIMS and the LEMP? I know the LEMP is Local Emergency Management Plan, Municipal Adoption Form, at a meeting that was warned on Saturday, 48 hours in advance of this meeting.
so moved.
I have a motion from John, second.
Yes.
From Carter. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. And Kevin, I'm going to hand this to you right now as a reward for your stick-to-itiveness.
Well, I haven't got accused of being at a bar for a while, so I appreciate that.
There you are. We'll just fix that line with Rebecca.
I will do that. Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you. Oh, you don't need a copy of that, or do you, Jim, for the...
Well, I can make you one.
You'll make him a copy?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, moving on to item 11. We'll do what I hope are brief reports from the various task forces. Water and sewer, John.
Well, you've effectively already heard part of mine, which is that prior to the deadline to adjust rates for the quarter beginning November 1, we're going to be looking at the budget and exactly that, and hoping that we have the audit report to work with in that regard, or at least a preliminary audit report. Probably of greater immediate interest is that Public Works, Tom, is in the process of gearing up to roll out water meter installations, and today, I think it was either yesterday or today, I guess, we came up with the final wording for the notice that's going to go on door hangers and or inserts in water bills, with one point of contact in terms of one phone number, one email address, one human being, and depending on people's tech savviness or non-tech savviness. It's going to have everything from a phone number to an email address to a QR code, which if you take a picture of it with your phone, the tech savvy people say will automatically bring up an email where you can just plug in your contact data and say, I want a beer. So that's gearing up to get underway. And that's pretty much where we are.
Next meeting?
This Thursday, 6:30 p.m. here.
6:30 Thursday night. It's going to be fabulous. Come and enjoy it. Thank you, John. Financial reporting and fiscal practices, Carter.
We had last Monday a pretty successful, albeit some technology hurdles, but we still came through a really resounding attendance from the public, folks that I haven't necessarily seen from the regularly counciled meetings, so that tells me that there's interest. But moving forward, we still have a bulk of work ahead. Please come vote next week around those article items. But also, as we mentioned today in our meeting, working with Chip, doing a deep dive on expenses. And also, other exciting news is talking about our budgeting process and how we're going to go about that differently starting probably next week to next month. So where we really incorporate community feedback along with grounding our numbers in real actuals. So yeah, I think that's all my brain's got.
Friday's at 4 o'clock.
Yes, Friday at 4 o'clock. Thank you. Rounding out. Come join the fun. Friday at 4.
Carter brings snacks every week.
When we twist her arm. And there is a public meeting Monday night here. We have to have a
Not this Monday.
before
is
the
it?
vote.
Oh, yes, it's 1 week from today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, we will talk about that at the end of the agenda tonight. It's on the agenda here. Thank you, Lori. Anything else, Carter?
No.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, anything you'd like to report from the public safety, public encampment,
We
community
haven't had
safety?
a meeting since the last one, but we will have a meeting Wednesday at 3:30 to 5.
Right here.
Yep, day after tomorrow.
Great. All are welcome. There's plenty of conversation going on in that group, too. They're working on some very, very challenging issues and having good conversation. Andrew, what you got for us?
So we had our meeting last Thursday. Our next meeting is going to be August 28th because we have a lot of data to compile. What we're looking at is a record management system, and currently there's about 4 of them to do something that the RMS system could do alone. So we're looking into a couple of those. Actually, we're going down, 2 of us are going down to Burlington for a seminar this Wednesday for the day, for a demo and a seminar of one of the companies that offers it. And this is go for everything from reporting purposes to personal training records to equipment and maintenance records, data for planning, so pre-plans will be able to be stored in there, and then legal and compliance protection as well. So there's a lot of stuff covered in here, and that's just a brief little overview, but we're digging into it, and it's going to be a lot of work, and that's why we went almost a month out from meeting to meeting, because we're working with everyone from the Newport PD downstairs to running different, looking in Excel forms and trying to collaborate all of our numbers and getting all of our numbers together, because one of our tasks was what is our history, and without going into it's easy enough to go into the annual reports for the last 10 years of fire calls, but to dig into it, how many personnel, what did this, what did that, what apparatus went, how is the apparatus maintained, it's not an easy find. So in a nutshell, we're working on it, and there'll be more to report after we attend the first seminar.
Thank you, Andrew. And actually, I know it's not related directly to the task force, but while we've got you, can you just say a word about what you understand is happening next on the fire truck delivery question, just because I know people are curious?
So I believe the guys are going out in 2 weeks.
So they're flying, 3 guys will be flying out November, yes, August 17th, return the 20th to do a truck inspection, which is basically a final truck inspection. We're still anticipating the truck to be here September.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, anything else to add? All right. Well, folks, anybody signed up and still here for public comment? Karen, I think you're on the list.
Very brief.
Go ahead.
So I sort of alluded to this at the previous meeting just this past week. And I would like to ask for some time on the next agenda, which I think you mean August 18th, Monday 18th, and not the Tuesday the 19th. I just wanted to check on that date. Because here it says the regular meeting of the council is 8/19, but I think that's actually 8/18.
If Monday's the 18th, you're correct.
Okay. So I would like, it would be about 10 minutes. And what I'm interested in presenting is sort of the backbone and the skeleton of some of the issues that we're seeing here through our financial issues and so forth. And again, that comes back to the charter and the statutes and reconciling what both of those documents tell in many instances in conflicting ways. So there have been various, I shouldn't say various, there have been several groups over the years that have started and stopped this process. And this is a process that we really need to take on. I'm a word person, so I'm very attuned to definitions and what the words carry in terms of their responsibilities. And it bothers me to see things carried over generations of councils that are not accurate. And I do have concern because of our immediate predecessor who changed things and wanted to change the actual council, the way in which our government functioned, without a vote from the public. So that simply can't be done. And there are certain things that are carrying through, even in the discussions of this council, that are problematic because they're not accurate definitions. So I'll just give you an example on this, and it's not meant to be critical, it's just meant to point out
I'm
an
going to ask you to keep your comments brief, Karen.
I know. You tell me that every time I speak.
I know, because we're on a long
but it's
time,
not
so
appropriate.
I'm not trying to keep it on a tight leash.
No, but it's not
2 to 3 minutes.
appropriate. You have to let me speak. So.
No, actually, we are, it's a courtesy to give 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm just asking you to keep
I'm
that
not even at 2 to 3 minutes. I'm asking for time on the next agenda. I want to give you the reason why. So I'll point out it's not to criticize you, it's just to point out an issue. So when you, at the very top of the line here, when you're listing the people on the council, you have Mayor Rick, President Kevin and Charbonneau, and then you say council members, Carter, John, and Andrew Truchette. All of you are council members, correct? So it's not a mayor-council form of government. It's the alderman and the mayor form the council by definition. That's just a small issue in terms of how things are defined, but it actually carries forward into problematic issues when we're talking about the structure of our government. So what I would like to ask for is about 10 minutes on the next agenda to discuss forming and having appointed a committee to look at both the charter and the statutes to begin the reconciliation process. But there's a whole formal process that goes through the legislature to do this. So it's a fairly long process. It can be a fairly long process, but we need to get started sooner than later because this actually has, which I'll talk about at the next meeting if I'm granted the time, has a direct impact on how operations are done within the city. So I would just ask you to consider that for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Let me know. And I will email you with information, and you can then let me know if I'm on the agenda. And just to say, it doesn't have to be me that heads up the committee. There are other people who've been working on things. But I offer my time and my insights.
Anyone else signed up?
Yes. My original subject.
You have to speak up here.
I'm sorry. My original subject became moot, but I would just say briefly, I think the last speaker, the words that I remember most was when she was leaving from her last position, and she said the mistakes that she made were her own, but that the good that she had done would be shared by us all. And it sounded good to me to begin with, and then I thought, no, the mistakes that you made were also shared by the public at the time. And so I am concerned by special treatment here. And I can find that on the
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Can I just ask who we're talking about?
No, we're not going to do
Is
it
it
back and
me?
forth tonight.
I just want clarity, because I'm a she. There's very few she's.
Y'all can have this conversation somewhere else. It's
Well,
not
I
a
don't think
council.
it's fair in a public comment to make a
We're done
statement.
tonight. Karen, thank you for your comment. You may just explore it with Ann afterward if you like.
Well, I
The
mean,
next
it's
item
no
on the
good not
agenda
to say
is
it in
new
public if
business.
it's a public
Karen,
accusation.
please.
If it's
please.
a public accusation, it should be stated who it is.
I'm going to ask you to work it out with Ann if you have a
I have
concern.
nothing to work out.
Okay, then there's no more conversation. Is there new business that anybody would like to bring up tonight?
You're a mayor, not a king.
Go ahead, Ann.
No, sir.
Carter? John? Kevin? Jim?
No.
No new business. Any old business? Carter? Kevin? Jim? Thank you for your work tonight. The next meeting of the council is going to be the 11th. That's correct. It's a week from tonight. I apologize that I did not remember that a moment ago. It'll be a regular council meeting at 6 o'clock. I think what we're going to do is just try and hold it to conversation about the following day's ballot initiative. So there will be no other items on that agenda, I believe. Don't hold me to that, but we're going to try and just keep it to be a very short meeting. And then the election will take place, of course, on the 12th, duly warned special meeting of the town by Australian ballot. The items for that meeting can be found on the homepage of the website if you have any questions. And then finally, as Karen pointed out, I got the date wrong for the regular meeting of the council to be held on the 18th, August 18th. Do I have a motion to approve those three items, the 11th, the 12th, and the 18th?
So moved.
I have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. And I'll just say, as a moment of personal privilege, how grateful I am to everyone for hanging in there for a very, very long meeting, and especially to the council for important work that has been done tonight. Thank you all for what you've done. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion, a second. Second from John. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Have a good night.